Imagine waking up one morning and an entire empire, cities, fortifications, armies, rulers, has simply vanished. No smoke, no ruins, no bodies, no clues, just gone. It sounds like the plot of a Netflix mystery show, right? But this isn't fiction, because today we're diving into one of the most perplexing disappearances in human history. An empire that flourished for centuries, dominated trade routes, mastered architecture far beyond its time, and then suddenly, without warning, disappeared almost overnight. Historians have argued about it for over 100 years. Archaeologists still scratch their heads. And conspiracy theorists? Oh, they're having the time of their lives. Some say climate disaster. Others blame invasions that somehow left no trace. Some believe it was a mass migration, and a few, more imaginative ones, claim it was something much more dramatic. So what really happened to this forgotten empire? And why did it leave behind a silence so loud that it echoes through millennia? Today we'll uncover everything, brick by brick, clue by clue, through the forgotten rise, the sudden collapse, and the haunting mysteries that still baffle historians across the Western world. Welcome to one of history's greatest disappearing acts. Let's start at the beginning. Before we get into the disappearance, we need to understand who these people were. This empire wasn't some isolated tribe. It was massive, sprawling across trade networks, connecting distant cultures, and influencing societies thousands of miles away. Their cities had multi-story structures before many European kingdoms even knew how to stack stones properly. They engineered advanced drainage systems that modern cities today could learn from. And their artisans, they produced jewelry and pottery so refined that archaeologists still debate the tools used to make them. They traded metals, spices, textiles, connecting what we now call the Middle East, South Asia, and even parts of the Mediterranean. Some historians argue their economic influence was so strong it might have silently shaped early Western civilizations. But here's the kicker. All of this was achieved without war. No giant monuments to kings, no stories of brutal conquerors, no bloodthirsty rulers demanding temples be built in their honor. They were peaceful, almost suspiciously peaceful, and that's exactly why their sudden disappearance becomes even more terrifying. A society this organized, this advanced, this interconnected, does not simply fade away. So what happened? Here's where the mystery intensifies. Archaeological layers from this period show something chilling. One year the cities are bustling, markets active, workshops producing goods, homes well-maintained. The next layer, abandoned streets, half-finished pottery, tools left behind as if dropped mid-use. No signs of war, no signs of famine, no mass graves, just emptiness. It's the historical equivalent of someone leaving their house with the lights still on and never returning. This wasn't gradual decline. This wasn't slow decay. This was an abrupt, decisive stop, like someone hit the pause button on an entire civilization. If it were war, we'd find weapons, destruction, burn marks. If it were plague, we'd find remains. But we don't. Not a single explanation fits perfectly, and that's what makes this empire's fall so haunting. One of the leading theories, especially among Western researchers, is climate collapse. Around the same time this empire vanished, major climate shifts occurred across various parts of the world. Dramatic droughts hit regions in modern-day India, Pakistan, Iran, and even parts of the Middle East. River systems shifted course. Rain patterns changed. Entire agricultural regions dried up. And when you rely heavily on river-based agriculture, well, that's a problem. Some scientists argue that the empire's main river, the lifeline of its cities, began to shrink and eventually dry up. Imagine living in a city where suddenly the river you depended on for water, food, farming, and trade decides, yeah, I'm just going to move a few miles east, good luck. Massive populations may have migrated in search of better water sources, leaving behind their once great urban centers. But here's the catch. The climate collapse theory explains some things, but not the speed at which the empire disappeared. Climate change is slow. This collapse wasn't. So let's dig deeper. Another popular hypothesis is that the empire didn't die. It simply moved. Large-scale migration could have occurred due to political pressure, economic shifts, or environmental stress. People may have relocated towards regions like the Ganges Plains or the Iranian Plateau. And sure, human migration happens all the time. But here's the twist. If millions migrated, they would have left behind cultural footprints, language traces, pottery styles, architectural influences. But in many of the regions they supposedly migrated to, the cultural evidence is surprisingly weak. It's like an entire population walked away without leaving their cultural identity behind. No assimilation, no adoption, no fusion. This only adds to the mystery, and it raises a troubling question. Where did they go? Now here's the theory that gets the most attention, especially among historians dealing with political and military history. Some researchers claim that groups from Central Asia moved into the empire's territory around the same time it declined. These groups might have pushed the population eastward or disrupted trade routes. But again, there's there's a problem. There's no evidence of battles, no burnt cities, no massacres, no destroyed walls. It's like the empire she stepped aside and said, "Sure, come on in," and then evaporated for an advanced, well-organized civilization. That's bizarre. If an invasion happened, it was the most peaceful invasion in history, and that doesn't make sense. Sometimes civilizations collapse from within. Too big, too complex, too rigid. This empire relied heavily on centralized planning, standardized measurements, and highly organized city layouts. Their system was brilliant, but maybe too brilliant. If one part collapsed, like water management or trade networks, the entire system could fail like a line of dominoes. Think of it like a modern internet outage. One key server goes down, and suddenly half the world can't send emails. A highly organized empire collapsing due to internal fragility? It's possible, but again, the speed of the collapse leaves historians unsatisfied. So, we're still missing something. Recently, a surprising theory has grabbed the spotlight. It combines all the other explanations, but adds one more piece of the puzzle. A massive river shift triggered by tectonic movement caused environmental collapse. That collapse triggered economic failure, which led to political breakdown, which opened the door for small-scale migrations. Basically, not one big catastrophe, but a chain reaction. And that's why the empire disappeared so suddenly. Everything collapsed at the same time. Water, trade, governance, population. When the lifeline of the civilization changed course, everything else followed. It wasn't a single event. It was a perfect storm. And that, more than anything, explains the speed and silence of the disappearance. But even with the new theory, the mystery isn't fully solved. Why did their writing system completely vanish? Why did no successor culture claim continuity with them? Why did their architectural style never reappear? And why does every clue end with more questions? For an empire so advanced, its silence is deafening. And that's why it continues to fascinate Western audiences. Because mysteries like this remind us how fragile human civilization really is. One shift, one disaster, one mistake, and even the greatest empires can vanish without a trace. So what really happened to the forgotten empire that vanished overnight? The truth is, it wasn't one thing. It was a domino effect of natural, social, and economic disasters hitting faster than the civilization could adapt. But the bigger question is, could this happen again? We rely on systems, water, electricity, trade, digital infrastructure, just as heavily as they relied on rivers and agriculture. If one of our modern systems collapses, how long before the dominoes start falling? History isn't just a story of the past. It's a warning for the present. So tell me, what do you think wiped out this forgotten empire? Drop your theory in the comments. I'll be reading every single one. And if you love exploring hidden histories and untold mysteries, make sure to subscribe. We've got many more forgotten stories to uncover.